Hi there, thank you so much for joining me today. This is my first video that I'm filming in about 6 weeks and I feel very out of practice. I just thought I would ease my way back into it with a get ready with me. I just came back from a very exciting trip to Italy visiting family, and I just feel like I have a lot that I want to catch you up on, some news, exciting news I want to share, and just play around with some new makeup that I bought. I did buy some Nabla and Zoeva makeup in Italy while I was over there, and so I have some things that I want to play with, kind of like a makeshift first impressions, get ready with me / catch up type of video. I wanted to start filming as soon as I got back last weekend, but just with the time change and a little bit of jet lag and just being so tired, my body, I just could not put makeup on. I couldn't really get out of bed. And then this week, in the middle of the week, I ended up getting sick, so I'm starting to get over it now. But I have really missed filming. I have so many ideas, so many new ideas have come to me while I was away, and it was just what I needed, a little bit of a break. And so let's get started. Let me show you some of the new makeup I'm going to be playing with. So from Zoeva, I purchased a brush. This is the 231 Luxe Petite Crease Brush, and then I have it open but I haven't used it yet. This is the Zoeva On Taupe palette. From scouring the Zoeva website, this is one of the only palettes that really spoke to me, and I'm sure you can see why. It's a cool toned, lighter palette. This is kind of right up my alley. I'm excited to play with that. And then I have a couple things from Nabla as well. I have a liquid lipstick. This is in the shade Sweet Gravity, and an interesting thing on the box is that it says to shake well before use. I've never seen that on a liquid lipstick. And then I did purchase 2 singles. They come in these little envelope packets, much like you would see from like Makeup Geek or ColourPop, and I only purchased 2 singles because I didn't want to get out of hand. The Nabla singles are larger than other singles in my collection, and they are right here, these 2 right at the bottom. I know they look kind of boring, but they're the ones that were the most appealing to me at the time. This one here is Luna. It's kind of like a silvery champagne shade, and then this one here is Interference, and this one reminds me a lot of a shade from a Wet n Wild trio that I really liked back in the day, the Silent Treatment trio. So that's why I picked it up. I didn't grab a ton of stuff from Nabla, even though I have been really curious about their singles, because I found Nabla in a store in Pisa, like right at the beginning of my trip, and so I honestly thought it would be easier to get my hands on more Nabla in the future. And we still had a lot of things that we were carrying around that we haven't given to family and friends yet because we brought a lot of gifts with us. And there was also a more limited amount of Nabla stuff in the store. They didn't have like the full collection, they just had a little bit of everything, so there wasn't a ton to choose from. And then I promptly never saw Nabla again for the rest of my trip. And I went all over the country. It's very hard to find. I will put the name of the store that I found it in Pisa in the description box. It was a Profumeria, I think is how you would say it. And that was the only place that I actually saw it in store. I was still excited to see it, given that it is something that's hard to find. I think both Nabla and Zoeva are now available on the Ulta website though, so that's exciting. The On Taupe palette from Zoeva is not on the Ulta website right now. I also have a new sunscreen I want to try. This is from Crave Beauty. It's the Beach Shield Antioxidant Day Fluid, and I have heard really good things about this. This is on the Logical Harmony cruelty-free brand list. I hear it's very cosmetically elegant and that it sits really nicely under makeup, and I did try it on the back of my hand yesterday and it felt really nice, so I am gonna use this today as well. I took some Dayquil this morning, so hopefully that'll kick in soon, and I have some tea, some decaf tea. And if you can see my mug, it says Editing Day on it. My best friend Katie made this for me, and I love it. Thank you so much, Katie. So I'm gonna put my hair back. I'm gonna put on some moisturizer. This is the Ultra Repair Cream from First Aid Beauty. I finally found the giant 8-ounce size. I don't remember if I got it from the First Aid Beauty website or if I got it from Sephora's website, but they do have it available. People kept telling me that this existed, but I couldn't find it, and I finally found it, and I'm very excited to have it in my life. And I'm going to spray a little bit of the Too Faced Hangover 3-in-1 spray. I'm gonna wet my face and then put this on. My skin has been very dry since coming back. It was kind of dry pretty much throughout the entire trip. And I'm actually kind of glad because I didn't bring a setting spray with me. I don't know if I forgot or if I just honestly didn't think I would need one. I don't know, but my skin was very dry. I didn't really get oily at all throughout the entire trip. So it's actually fine that I didn't bring it because I usually use those for oil control. And I'm going to give that cream a second to soak into my skin before I put on the SPF from Crave. Okay, so I'm going to shake up this Beat Shield and put a very generous amount in my hand. It doesn't feel like watery at all, but it is very white. It said it doesn't leave a white cast. And when I put it on the back of my hand yesterday, it didn't leave a white cast at all, so I don't know. It's a very interesting consistency. It does have a stronger scent, but it's kind of like an unscented scent. You guys know what that smells like? Doesn't seem to be leaving anything on my skin, but I think it's harder for people with really light skin to tell if something is a white cast. It doesn't feel heavy like a lot of SPFs feel. I really don't think I'm even going to be leaving the house today, to be honest. That feels nice. Yeah, I don't see a white cast. It also, I mean, I look a little bit glowy in this light, but I don't feel super sticky. While I wait for that to set in, I'm gonna go in and try to open this makeup brush from Zoeva. I am curious. I always hear such good things about their brushes. It feels really nice and soft. That's good. Okay, so now that that's been on my skin a little bit, it actually feels really nice. It doesn't feel heavy or sticky. It doesn't feel like I have a film on my skin. So I paid $20 for this. It's 50 milliliters. I don't know the exact conversion over to 1 ounce, but usually 1 ounce is 30 mils. So this is almost 2 ounces worth of product for $20. I guess that's not too bad. And if it is really cosmetically elegant, and if it is something that I really love the formula for, then I have no problem purchasing it again. So I'm going to put on some of my Smashbox 15-hour wear foundation. I usually am in the shade 1.05, but that might be a tad bit too light for me right now. So I'm just going to mix in a darker foundation. This is 2.15. This has a cooler undertone, so it's not like the perfect undertone for me, but I'm going to use like 1 full pump of this and then just like a teeny bit of this. And then I'll use bronzer afterward if I still feel like I'm not matching the rest of my body. Typically with this foundation, I prefer to use my fingers. I feel like that gives me the most coverage. This is a foundation that gets sucked up very easily by sponges, but my skin is very dry feeling right now, and I don't feel like I need a ton of coverage at the moment, so I'm just going to use a sponge just to kind of make it look a little less dry on my skin. I'm going to use my NYX Dark Circle Concealer just on these inner portions of my eyes. I have been sleeping like a freaking baby lately, and that never happens. I've been sleeping 8 hours every night for the past week, and it's been great. I mean, I've really needed it being sick, but oh man, I don't know. Something about when we like reset our sleep cycle to account for those 6 hours that we lost coming back. We just really nailed it. And we've been going to bed super early. And then I'm going to use this concealer from Makeup Revolution. This is in the shade C7. Just a little bit under my eyes and around my nose. I think everything else is fine. So I do have some exciting news. If you don't follow me on Instagram, then you probably don't know yet, but James and I got engaged while we were in Italy, so I'm getting me a husband. Very exciting. It was a really special trip for us because it was his first time ever going overseas, but it was also his first time meeting a lot of my family. I have a very large amount of family that still live in Italy, and you know, after years of my parents telling him stories about all these people over there, he can finally put a face to the name, and he just got to meet a lot of people in my family, and I think also he kind of just got to see a part of like my culture and how I was raised. And so it was nice for him to kind of see that part of my life and my family and kind of like a part of who I am. And the proposal was lovely. It was quiet and intimate, but it was in a beautiful location. He proposed while we were in Capri, and it was just a really nice time. I really enjoyed my trip. I'm gonna use some of my Urban Decay primer potion on my lids. I don't think the wedding will be anytime soon. I've kind of always liked the idea of a winter wedding. My cousin Angela, she got married just a few days after Christmas a couple years ago, and the way it was set up, it was just so lovely. It was really nice, and I think I just like that idea. I definitely don't want a wedding in the summer when it's really hot. I just think I would be very miserable. I'm not a big fan of summer. However, if I do have a wedding in the winter, it'll be a lot harder for some of my family to fly in or drive in to visit and come for the wedding. This Zoeva palette does have a cream shade that I can use to set my eyeshadow primer. It's called Stitch by Stitch. So I'm just going to use a ColourPop E2 brush, just like a fluffy brush, to set that eyeshadow primer. It's a bit light, but that's okay. Very pigmented. But yeah, I don't think I'll be doing a lot of like bridal related videos. I might do like one like bridal makeup video or something like that. I imagine my sister-in-law will be helping me with the majority of the details. She is very creative. She loves that kind of stuff. The second I got engaged, she was like, oh, I can't wait to start planning. As excited as I am to be married, the actual wedding is not really something that I have any specific things that I need for it to be like considered a good day. There are some YouTubers that when they got married, I was very excited to see their like honeymoon stuff and the Q&As and the proposal story and all this and that. It is content that I like seeing from other YouTubers. I don't know if that's something that I'll do for mine. I'm gonna go in with this brush. I think it's a Real Techniques brush, and I'm gonna go in with that shade Gallery. It's kind of like a cool toned purpley type of shade, and I'm just gonna put that in the crease. I think I'm gonna go in with that Nabla single in the shade Interference, and I'm gonna just use my finger to put this all over the lid. I know I want to use this lip color later on. I think that and the gray will go nicely together. I just really gravitate towards these types of shades. Like, maybe they look kind of boring in the pan, but I think they look really nicely like with my eye color. You can see I have a shade in my On Taupe palette that's very similar. The shade Wrapped in Silk. I would say Interference from Nabla has just a touch more purple, but those look very similar. Oops. I did forget to set my under eye, so I'm gonna do that. I'm just gonna use some of my RC May No Color powder. This brush is from BH Cosmetics. It's the number 5 from their little marble set. If I weren't going for this lip, I would probably add a little bit of this purple to the outer corner, but I think I'm just gonna leave it the way it is. I'm gonna do the rest of my face and then come back. I'm just gonna use this fluffy Real Techniques brush to set my face with the RC May powder. Just a really light dusting. I'm gonna use the Essence blush. This is the Satin Love one. This is a new blush to my collection. I only recently picked it up before I left, but this is one of 2 blushes that I brought with me to Italy. And I'm just gonna put on a teensy bit. I'm not gonna overdo it like I do sometimes with blush. To make my body and my face match, I am going to use the Too Faced Chocolate Bronzer. This is the regular Chocolate Soleil, so it's not the lightest, it's the middle shade. I'm going to use another Real Techniques brush to put this on. I'm going to zoom you out a tiny bit because I feel like this is too close. So while I've been sick, I ended up having to miss some work just because I did not feel right about going to the office with all these symptoms. I think it was just like a basic cold flu type of situation. I don't think it was anything dire, but I definitely wasn't well enough to go into work. So I stayed home and I caught up on some Netflix. I watched the entire, I think, 3rd season of Workin' Moms. Really funny show, big fan. And I also watched the full 5th season of Schitt's Creek. That's also a really good show. James and I are watching the next season of Disenchantment. That's a funny show. We watch a lot of Fresh Off the Boat. That's a really funny show. I like watching funny stuff. I'm not really one to watch like really serious shows or scary shows. I'm going to use the Charlotte Tilbury Duo I'm gonna use the bronzer side with one of these e.l.f. Blending brushes. I'm just gonna grab a little bit and use that for some contour. I don't think this lighting is being very kind to me. I think it's looking very like choppy, but it's not. I'm gonna put on some setting spray. I recently picked up the Morphe Continuous Setting Spray. I hear Chic Geek talking about this all the time and how much she likes it, so I thought I would give it a try. From what I gather, it's not like an oil control type of product. It's more just to make your makeup all melt together, so that's what I want today, especially with how dry my skin has been. Wow, that is so fine. It's got a bit of a strong scent though. Kind of like a cleaning product. I bought it when it was on sale on the Ulta website and I like that. Probably not something I would buy in the summer when I am looking for more oil control, but I think right now with the way my skin is and with the cooler months coming, I think it'll be nice to have something like that. For my brows, I'm going to use these NYX pencils. I have ash brown and taupe. I'm going to use ash brown for the like body part, for like the tail, the middle to the end, and then I'll use taupe for the beginning part. So I'm in the process of trying to figure out what I want to do for my Pan Those Eyeshadows project next year. I definitely want to do it again. This has been one of my favorite series I've ever done. I'm getting a lot of really great feedback. It seems like you guys really enjoy watching it as well. I'm hitting pan on new shadows. I'm doing more colorful looks, more varied looks. I'm wearing more eyeshadow than I have ever in my entire life. And I really do think this project has been very good for me. But I think one of the problems I run into is I have a lot of brown eyeshadows from all of my palettes and everything. And because I do randomly generate eyeshadows to try and hit pan on, I randomly generate a lot of brown shadows, which isn't a problem, but it doesn't make it as exciting or fun. Like hitting pan on a brown shadow is still exciting, but hitting pan on like a pink shadow or a green shadow just has a little bit more of an excitement for me, and it is just nice to have a set of 5 fun colors to play with instead of 1 color and then 4 browns, which is kind of what I feel like I've had for the past couple of months. I started out really strong at the beginning of the year. I think in my first quintet that I got like a coral shade, a green shimmer, a pink, a purple, and then like a gold shimmer. So I had like tons of things to play with, and I feel like ever since that first month, I haven't had any quintets that are as colorful or as diverse as the one I had that first month. So I think next year I'm going to figure out a way to keep myself from getting so many browns. I might make it just as easy as if I have more than 1 brown in my quintet, then I just randomly generate another shadow. Or maybe I'll do something with the alphabet where I have like, you know, 1 shadow that starts with each letter of the alphabet, and I choose from those and try to hit pan on those by the end of the year. I'm not sure. I have a lot of different directions I could take it in. I don't want to make it too complicated. I still like the randomness where you're randomly generating something. I like that element to it, where I don't know what color combination I'm going to be working with. I still want it to just be like fun. So if you have any recommendations, or if you see anyone who does a similar Pan Those Eyeshadows type of project and you like how they do it, let me know. I have purchased like 4 or 5 different palettes in the last couple of months. I'm not really sure why I've been purchasing so many. I think the majority of them, they just go on a really good sale and it's just such a good deal that I'm like, well, it's something I've wanted for a long time. I might as well pick it up when it's like 60% off. I'm still trying to be smart about what I bring in, but sometimes I just can't help myself. A good deal is like my weakness. I didn't ever use this Zoeva brush yet. This is the 231 Luxe Petite Crease. And I do want to add a little bit more to my eyeshadow. So I'm going to go back in with that Gallery shade. Just kind of scoot this up towards my eyebrow. Scoot. I think I've just been working with so many warm browns in my Pan Those Eyeshadows quintet that I've just been really craving cool tones. I'm going to grab a little bit more of that Gallery shade and run it under my lower lash line as well. Just a little bit. Right before I left for my trip, I got a lash lift and tint, but for like 5 or 6 weeks before I got the lash lift and tint, I've been using this lash serum that my fiance's mom gave to me It's called Babe Lash, and I got in touch with the company, and from what I can tell, they seem to be cruelty-free to me. And she gave me like a little sample bottle of it. I used it for 5 or 6 weeks, and then when I got the lash and lift tint on top of that, my eyelashes were like insane. I don't know if I have a photo, but every look that I did just looked so much better because my eyelashes were actually like showing up to the party. For liner, I'm gonna use this Milani Stay Put waterproof liner. I'm just gonna put that in the upper. And for my liquid liner, I was going to use I just bought the Anastasia Beverly Hills liner pot. I cannot find it anywhere. I don't know what I did with it. It looks exactly like the brow pomade. It's the same packaging, and I don't know what I did with it. I'm very sad. I hope I didn't lose it because I literally just bought it before the trip. So I'm going to use this one from Physicians Formula. This is the Eye Booster 2-in-1 in Ultra Black. I haven't ever used it, so I don't know how easy or hard it is to use. Let's zoom you in. I'm sure you want to see this. Feels a little dry. I literally just bought this. I'm going to store that upside down and try that again at a later date, and hopefully it'll do better. I'm going to go back in with this pencil and just like a angle brush. This one's from Nabla Cosmetics. I'm just going to kind of smooth over the line so that it looks a little less choppy. I really love the Anastasia liner pot. It's been so long since I've used a liner pot, and I forgot how much I missed it. And there's so much product in there. I think it's like under 20 bucks, but there's so much product in there that it's like you'll never be able to use up that whole thing, or it'll just take forever to do so. So it's really good value for your money, and I just like the control of using like an angled brush and that type of liner. I think I'm going to go in with this Luna Single, and I'm going to put that in the inner corner, and I'm also going to kind of pop it on the like inner third of the eye as well, just to kind of brighten things up a little bit. For highlighter, I'm going to use the other side of that Charlotte Tilbury Film Star Bronze and Glow palette. For mascara, I'm going to use the Caution Extreme Lash Mascara from Hourglass. This is a full size. I don't think I've ever owned such an expensive mascara, but I bought like a 5-pack of like 5 little mini sample mascaras from a Sephora Favorites kit during the holidays, and in it comes a voucher for free full-size mascara from one of the 5, and I chose the Hourglass one. If they sell minis of this mascara, I would consider buying them, but I think full price, this is like $28. I'm not spending that much on a mascara. I would love to know what's new with everyone. I feel like I've just been like all me lately with my trip. It's a trip that I only go on like once a decade, so it is a very big deal for me. And you know, getting engaged and stuff on the trip was very exciting. If you're curious as to like what I did on the trip, I didn't do any vlogging or anything. I didn't bring my camera. I do have an Instagram highlight story on my Instagram page labeled Italy, and there are some photos that I forgot to put up, but I think the story, like the highlight, is a pretty good indicator of all the things we got to do while we were there. As much fun as I had on my trip, I think there are a lot of things that I'm not gonna miss about Italy, as much as I love being there. So I think there's like 2 or 3 main things. The first thing is I'm not gonna miss eating dinner at like 9 o'clock at night. I don't know why that's such a thing, but everyone in my family, they have a small breakfast, then they have a large lunch around 3 or 4, and then they have a light dinner at like 9:30 at night, and I do not understand that. That was the biggest adjustment for me, was the eating times, because normally with the time I get up in the morning for work, I usually am like getting ready for bed at 9:30, and so to have to stay up and be starving for 9:30 dinner and then just going to bed right after with like a full stomach, that took a lot of getting used to. I didn't love that. And my cousins, they were like so surprised and shocked that we eat dinner at like 6 o'clock. We usually eat dinner when we come home from work, so around 6 or 6:30. So that I'm not gonna miss. The food I'm definitely gonna miss. The food was amazing. Oh my goodness. Another thing I'm not gonna miss is having to pay to use the restroom. If you already paid to get in at like a museum or something, usually you don't have to pay to use the restroom. But if you're like at a park or somewhere in the city and they have like a public restroom, you usually have to pay money to use the bathroom, and it's usually like €1 or something. I'm glad to be back and peeing for free. So I'm gonna use the Nabla liquid lipstick. I'm gonna shake well, like it said in the instructions. Doesn't look separated in the bottle at all, so that's good. Once again, this is the shade Sweet Gravity. I thought this was a really pretty mid-tone peachy nude. I think it'll go really nicely with this eyeshadow. I'm not going to use lip liner or anything, but that's pretty. It looks like a darker version of my lip color. That's pretty. Nice for fall. Kind of smells like your typical liquid lipstick, and it feels very thin. This isn't really the best time for me to be trying a new formula though, because my lips are very dry. Okay, so as a little recap, I liked the Zoeva palette. I thought this was nice. I like the color story. It's definitely got a very specific color story, so if you don't like grays, if you don't like taupes, then this isn't really going to be for you. I've only ever heard good things about the Zoeva palette formulas. The singles were nice as well. I didn't feel like there was any issue with the formula or the pigmentation. I used my fingers for them. I didn't use brushes or anything, so keep that in mind. I just use fingers to apply those two. The liquid lipstick seems nice. Now that it's drying down, it's starting to be a little bit more matte. It's starting to get a little bit darker, but I do like that color a lot. I think it's pretty. I think it's perfect for fall. The Beat Shield feels really nice under my skin. I feel like my skin is moisturized. It's not super dry feeling, but it doesn't feel sticky. It doesn't feel heavy. I don't feel like I'm gonna get oily really quickly. I think the Morphe Mist did a nice job melting my makeup all together, and I think my highlighter applied really nicely on top of it. I like to wait and put my setting spray on first and then the highlighter, just so that it's got like a more smooth surface to go on top of, and it looks less powdery, and I think it looks really nice with this spray. Once again, it doesn't feel heavy or sticky. Definitely, it's not something I'd want to use like during the summer. Definitely something for the cooler months, or if you have like incredibly dry skin. You only want to put on a little bit. I think I put on too much the very first time that I tested it out, and it was like way too much. So just a little bit at a time. This Physicians Formula pen, I think maybe I just haven't been storing it well. I'll have to try it again after I've stored it upside down for a little bit, but yeah, I wasn't super impressed with it. The brush tip is nice, but the pigmentation wasn't that great. It didn't feel like a very wet tip, but maybe I just wasn't storing it correctly, so I'll store it upside down, and you know, maybe that'll be better. The Zoeva brush was nice. It blended nicely. It's soft, and I like the shape. I like that it's a little bit smaller. I think it fits my eye crevices a little bit better because it's a little bit smaller. I have a little bit more control over where the product goes. But I mean, you know, most crease brushes, you know, they either work or they don't. I think this works. I don't think I tried anything else that was like super new. Most of these were first impressions, or I've only used them once or twice before. The Essence blush I like. I brought it with me to Italy, so it's not a first impression, even though it is newer. And one of the first times I talk about it on my channel. I do like the look. I feel like it's a nice introduction into fall, especially with this lip color. It's got a little bit of like an oranginess to it. I really like it. Big fan of this, and I like the formula so far. I can see how people would think it's drying. Most liquid lipsticks are, but it reminds me a lot of like the Stila formula, where you put on a little bit and it dries down and that's it. Anyway, I feel like I probably had a lot of other things I wanted to talk about. It's just been so long since I've been in front of the camera. I just feel like there's so many things I want to fill you in on, and I just haven't had a chance to do it yet. Anyway, I hope my sick voice wasn't too much to handle. If you're still watching after this incredibly long video, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you guys are having a wonderful week so far, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye guys!